with science.
Morning. I'm JD, and I am a commercial litigator. That's a type of lawyer. I represent companies and homeowners with different types of lawsuits. And what I'm going to present to you today is how science affects even my life. I was a student of Ms. Allen and Ms. Clay. I was a student of Mr. H at that time, and they can both tell you that I was born to be a lawyer. I was always the smart kid in class, and when I mean smart, I don't mean A's. I mean the other type of smart. And to make a long story short, I always felt that I don't need to do good in science. Science is not for me. If I wanted to be good at science, I would be a doctor. I wouldn't need to be a lawyer. Being a lawyer now for the past 5 years and representing thousands of homeowners in different types of cases like these and Chinese rival cases, I've learned that science does play a part in my career. I'm going to just start off by showing you a brief part of the presentation. I just finished a 3-week-long trial on Chinese drywall. I want to explain to you what Chinese drywall is and how it affected people's homes and people's lives. In 2010, when I started my career, Jeff and Elisa Rodman walked into my office and they started to describe different things that were happening to their home. They purchased their home in July of 2008. It was their first home, it was their dream home. Shortly after moving in, they started smelling this really weird smell that they couldn't describe. And their friends would come into their house and be like, wow guys, your house really smells. But it smells bad, it smells like rotten egg. And no one wants to hear that their house smells. And then over time, their TVs started breaking and their appliances started breaking. And they didn't know what was going on. So they came into my office and they said, listen, we don't know what's wrong with our house, but this is not something normal. We've heard people talk about Chinese drywall. We don't know what it is, but we know that your firm is representing homeowners. So we sent our scientists in to inspect their house. And this is their house when we first started looking at it. It's a beautiful 4,000 square foot home in Coral Gables. All the fixtures you could think of, marble floors, high-end bathrooms, really a dream home, a nice home that I could ever dream about. And as we started to inspect their home, we determined, oh my God, their house has Chinese drywall. And the result of Chinese drywall is this. In order to fix their home, we had to tear it apart completely. Every wall, every electrical fixture, all the drywall, all the appliances. This is drywall piled to the second floor of their home. That's their living room, their family room. That's not supposed to be. Here we go. That's their kitchen. Now you guys are probably wondering, what does this have to do with chemistry? What are these pictures that JD is showing me? All of this wouldn't have happened if this company would have just tested their board for sulfur. One simple test would have saved all these homes, would have saved thousands upon thousands of homes. Now, the trial that we just finished right now, the jury came back and gave us $1.2 million to fix this home. They're going to come back and give punitive damages to punish the company for not testing the product. All of this because of one test that could have been done, one test for sulfur. The science of chemistry is utilized in many different professions. Most notably, and as you guys probably know, chemistry is used by doctors, pharmacists, scientists, and by your teachers like Ms. Lorenzo when they need to teach you. Surprisingly, chemistry is used and rather often in the practice of law by lawyers like myself. In fact, there are chemists that become lawyers because there is a growing need for lawyers that have specialized scientific backgrounds. I don't know much about chemistry, and I didn't know much about it until I started these Chinese drywall cases. But I can tell you now that the effects of all this sulfur off-gassing has taught me so much about the importance of teachers like Mrs. Lorenzo and you guys paying attention to what she's going to teach you, because it will affect your day-to-day life. You look around this room, and there's different materials that are all composed of chemical formulas, things that Ms. Lorenzo didn't teach in her classroom. Drywall itself, for those that don't know what drywall is, it's the product that you paint on. It's the interior walls of your classrooms, of your homes, and most of them are produced correctly. They're produced the way that they need to be done. Because there are scientists that work for these companies in quality control departments to ensure that everyone is protected, to make sure that when you guys live in a home, your home is safe, to make sure that when you guys drive in a car, your cars are safe, to make sure that the pencils that you write on are safe, to make sure that the computers that you use are not going to make you sick. All of that is done by scientists. Just one second, I'm going a little faster than I one. What I have here is a chronology of the different events that happened in this case. And these are the type of boards that us lawyers send out to create. And they describe to the jury how, again, one simple test that was not done because the company decided to put profits over people. One test and the effect of how, by failing to do that original test in September of 2005, triggered all these events. And you'll notice some of the dates even go through today. So you'll have November 13, 2006. That was exactly 7 years ago. 7 years ago, the manufacturer of these boards retained a toxicologist and a chemist by the name of Dr. Go. And if you don't think scientists and chemists make money nowadays, in trial, I brought out, Dr. Go has been paid $3 million for his services in this case. That's a chemist. That's not a lawyer. That's not a doctor. That's someone who was hired by this company to test the materials, who has done so for the last couple of years, simple air testing. There's a ton of different fields within science that affect your day-to-day life. What you see laid out here, these are silver components, silver. If you open it, you can see the inside, how it's still silver colored. These were inside my client's house, not for 8 years, not for 15 years, 18 months. It took 18 months for the sulfur within that board to come out and to attack these silver components. Now you're probably wondering, how is it that the sulfur comes out and attacks these boards? I'm not a chemist, so I'm going to let a chemist.
So through chemical compounds that are released through the air, what happens is that the actual chemical of the sulfur is going to join with the actual air particles in the air. Okay, so therefore these are all gas emissions that are joined together and us that we're breathing in at home. That means that this family every day was breathing in pure sulfur.
In addition to breathing it in, sulfur is not an element that floats naturally in the air. It's dependent on something else. And it tries to find whatever other volatile compound. And mind you, these are all things that I learned from chemists that we hired. I would have been great had I listened to Mr. A and you guys listened to Mrs. Lorenzo. Maybe I would have had to pay that chemist hundreds of thousands of dollars to teach me something that I could have learned right here. But I learned it through my chemist, and she explained to me how sulfur requires another compound